Okay. Hey guys, we're starting the OD Open Space, and this is the OD team, and this is where we work. So this is the Catechismo room. Some person just passed by. This is Angelica. She's not from the OD department.
I'm sorry for you.
Yeah, open spaces. Then later. So yeah, the purpose of the space, we're gonna make some presentations on our areas and then all the department in general. And then after each one of us individually, we will go through our departments and the more specific deliverables of our departments. And after all things, you can ask all the that you have. Maybe you are not in the Hangouts itself. If you're in the Hangouts, you can ask questions on the chat, which is on the right. If you're not in the Hangouts, then you can follow us on the YouTube, which is the link that also Miki posted on the applicants group. And then you can ask your questions through the comments on the video, okay? Okay, so I will share the screen with you guys for the PPT. Just a second. And sharing the screen. Wait. In there. Cool. So yeah, did you share? Still me?
But it has a buffer time.
Cool. So we're gonna start and
Okay, so first of all, what does OD do? Like you have to say. Basically, this is one of the, let's say, bigger picture what OD does. So first of all, this is the OD circle. So we start from the strategy. What is the strategy? In our case is, of course, the entity plan. There is more a bigger picture, let's say, of what needs to happen in the entity. Then the OD model, that is more focused on actually LCs and how they move and perform. And then expansion model. So, of course, the model of expansion. Surprise, surprise. Then, thank you, Ale. Then, how do we make this strategy work? Through, of course, implementation channels. In our case, is the whole coaching system, the network management, NSTs, and national education cycles. So both conferences and virtual education. Then, of course, how we make it happen through execution and how do we execute things through the apps. I think you all know it. If you don't, let us know. And yeah, and by the way, to make all of this happen, we also need to engage our plan and our people. How do we do this? Through our purpose, let's say, that is making Italy, and of course through reward and recognition. Okay, this is the structure of our OD department this year. Of course, it can change, we don't know. So there is the MCPOD, there is Dushan, then there is the MC OD director, with me, and then there is the MC expansion director, Gino, even if you say hi, you can then there is the MCP Icom, Lau, ciao Lau, and our amazing Rafa, MCP EXP.
oh.
Okay, so let's start as we said before from the OD model, so from our strategy.
One second. Guys, just a second, because from the YouTube thing, I don't know if people are checking the whole screen. You know, yes, but maybe not. Okay, so now yes. Okay, continue.
So, OD model. Anyway, you can find the OD model on the applicants folder, so you can find all the material there. So I will not go very in details because, as I was saying, in the folder is all the materials and all the, let's say, more specific explanation. So we will go through it very fast, and then the question, of course, you can ask them at the end. So, first of all, as we were saying, one is the strategy of the national entity together with the entity plan. And one thing that you need to know is that the model is strongly focused and based on OGV as our base of operation. So, how does it work? We have 6 clusters that actually are 4. So we have the startup, the scaling, that the specialist one that is divided based on the focus of the LCs in that cluster, and then we have the global competitor. So how do we allocate LCs in clusters? The first criteria are the tier of the products. So here you can see all the tiers of all the products, so the number of exchanges that an LC needs to perform in order to be in one tier or the other, and they're divided by semester. Why? Because, of course, for some areas, as you can see, there are different, let's say, peaks, and so also the number of operations is different between one semester and the others, and also because you can jump from one cluster to the other on a semester base. I will not go through all of them, you can see them, so let's look at them. So first cluster is the startup one. Right now we have 9 LCs there, and to be in this class, the LCs in this cluster are the ones who are on tier 4 on OGV. So I don't know, either if there is LCs in tier 1 in another product, but they cannot manage to upscale until the 3rd tier of OGV, they will stay in this cluster. Why? Because we were saying at the beginning, our focus is OGV. So we need to ensure, let's say, an amount of OGV performances that makes the LC sustainable. Then we have the scaling cluster. LCs in this cluster are the ones who manage to be on tier 3 of OGV, and then they can run other products. Of course, in all the cluster, actually, you can run other products, but again, there is this criteria that is based mainly on OGV, at least for startup and scaling clusters. So right now we have 2 entities there. There are Padova and Roma Sapienza, and yes, this is it regarding scaling cluster. Then we can go very fast to the specialist one. So the first one is the global volunteer specialist, the GV specialist. The criteria here is to be tier 2 either in OGV or IGV, so one of the GV products, of course, and tier 3 in the other one. So here again, you need to have a solid base. That means being in tier 3 of OGV, but then you can also be, let's say, your biggest product, your most performant one, can be also IGV. And right now we have 5 LCs there. Then we have the outgoing specialty cluster, in this case the GEV. Right now we don't have entities there because it was created just in August, because before we didn't have the split between the GE and GT. And so also here the tier criteria are the same as the GV one, but of course we are focusing on OGV and OGE. Then we have another outgoing specialist cluster, but this one is more focused on GT with respect to GE. And so basically it's the same, but the focus is GT and not GE. And right now there is again Bologna here. Why Bologna is in 2 different clusters? Just because they match the criteria to be on both the clusters of Bologna. And then for the first time we managed to have 2 LCs in the global competitor cluster. What does it mean be in the global competitor? It means to be in the tier 1 either on OGV or IGV. Why not GE or GT? Just because the volume of exchanges is way bigger in the GV products, and we are focusing on having let's say, very big LCs performing a lot, and so of course you can perform more with the GV products. And then you need to have a tier 2 of another products, one of the fourth, and then open tier. So and then you can have the other products in every tier is the same, but the requirement is to have either OGV or IGV in tier 1 and another one in tier 2. Okay, but the tiers criteria, so the number of exchanges is not the only thing that allows you to be in one cluster or another one, but there are other, let's say, criteria. In this case, how can I don't know, if I'm in a startup cluster, how can I upscale to the scaling cluster? Of course, you need, again, to be in the tier 3 OGV. And then you also need to be, let's say, okay, into main indexes. There are the performance one and the health one. What does it mean to have the green light, as you can say? If you go on, it means to have at least 7 in the performance index and 7 in the health one. So you can reach the green light if you're both 7. Otherwise, if you have the yellow light, let's say, that means that you are okay in one index but not in the other one. And if you are in the red one, that means that you are not reaching the, let's say, the basis of 7 in any of the 2 index. Okay, so now we will go to see what are the criteria for the performance and the health. Again, I will not go very deeply in explaining you how they are computed, whatever, because you can find everything in the applicants folder or the materials, but at least I will give you a general picture of how do we do that. Okay, so starting from the performance index, it's divided by 3 main indexes that are the growth one, the plan achievement, and process speed index. Why these 3? Because they are a fundamental part also of our entity plan. So in our entity plan, we focus a lot in actually plan achievement of LCs. Why? Because in the past, at least in the past years of Isaac in Italy, we had a lot of LC planning, very, very big numbers, but then the plan achievement actually was pretty poor. So we actually push a lot to make LC very responsible in planning and actually achieve their plan. So it's also the index that weighed more. Then we added also the process time. Why? Because part of our vision, for example, is act fast. So we really want our LCs to manage their product in a fast way, also to be more competitive and also reliable with respect to our IR partners. So again, growth index. So if you are growing that month with respect with the same month of the last year, plan achievement, so how much you are achieving with respect to your plan, and process time. Then again, you can see all of the criteria and all of the how to get more score, higher score or not in the application folder. Then, sorry, last thing again, the overall performance index. It goes between 1 and 10, of course. So if you have 7 here, you're okay in performance. Bravo, Elsie. Then regarding the health index, this is split in 4 different indexes that are the membership, finance, complete index, and accountability one. So these are the main things that make an LC being healthy and sustainable. So starting from the membership one that weighs like the finance one, what are we measuring here? So here we measure the engagement of our plenary to the education. So you can see it from the percentage of member of conferences and the percentage of certified members. What is a certified member? Is a member that go through our virtual education on the Isaac Hub. Then the biggest criteria, let's say, in the membership index is the blue members. But Rafa is going to explain you later what a blue member is. By the way, is a member that receive all the teams, at least 80% of team standard, and that is, let's say, engaged. Then we are computing it through the national membership survey. Rafa is going to talk about it later. Then another big weight is given by talent capacity. And then from, let's say, the and the LC structure that is given by the team members / team leader ratio. Why? Because we also used to have a problem pipeline and in general on structure, so we wanted to push LCs to focus on this also through the OD model. Then the next index, the finance one, this is pretty simple. So this is measured by the debit credit. So how much, let's say, money there is in the entity. How do you say it? I don't have the word. Okay, so how much money S has managed to get back from their from IGV, let's say. So because all of the entrance of money of IGV get directly in that account. So if it's positive, of course the score is very high. If it's negative, it gets lower and lower. Then from the MEC account, so how much money SEs can gain from OGX products. And so and this is of course based on the tiers of the products of the LCs. And then what we add in the, like right now actually, is the investment plan achievement. Why? Because we really want LCs to be accountable and to be also, and to push them to actually invest the money they have inside the organization. So both in HR, both in marketing. Then we have the complete index that actually is the one that weighs the most. Because why? Because of course the complete is our MOS, and so the criteria here they changed a bit with respect to before, and it's the percentage of response rate and above all the percentage of finished to complete of LCs. And the last one, the accountability index. So here we measure, yes, the accountability of LCs to the MC, and it's based on the percentage of weekly SONA, of monthly SONA, of the GFB survey, and of the accountancy. Very simple. And also here, of course, it's the index, the health index overall goes between 1 and 10. So again, if you're 7 here, you're okay also in health. Bravo, LC. Okay, in health. Okay. How do we implement those things, this strategy, and how do we use it? Okay, so first of all, we use the model as a diagnosis tool. So each and every month, on the 5th, LCs receive the complete report. That again, you can see all of them from August on, from July on in the applicants folder. And as soon as you go through the report, you can actually spot your bottleneck and how to improve them. And also on the 5th, it's also released the product report. There is actually a report of the product, again, health of the LCs. Then we implement it through MC services, which are the monthly chat coachee, the network monthly chat. So every functional area has this overall monthly chat, and the consultancies one. So they are the individual chat between the either consultant or MCP with the VPs. And then we have progress reports. What are these? They are reports based on the weekly SONA to understand, again, the progress of the LCs through these measures of the products. And then, of course, we have accountability because we need, of course, to get data in order to compute all of these things. And we got them through weekly SONA, through monthly SONA, and there are two. There is the LC monthly SONA and also the individual one. What is an individual SONA? It's a SONA filled by each and every VP, with which we measure 40X implementation, network management, let's say satisfaction of VPs through the MC services, and then also through standard audit that we need that to, in order to get data on complete. Okay, regarding the coaching system and how it's based right now. So right now, the audit director, it's me, ciao again, is, let's say, at the head of the coaching system. So I manage all the system, the cadence, the routine, and everything. And in this moment, there are 7 coaches. There is, again, me, that I manage for LCs. Then there is Dushan, the MCP POD that managed 2, Miki, the MCP CXP that managed 1, and then I directly manage 4 regional coordinators that are former LCPs who now are also coaches of LCs. And this structure is, at least until now, it has been only possible in the second semester of MC, so in the first one of LCs. Why? Because then in the first semester, so from August until January, we actually don't have pipeline for regional coordinator because the past one probably are in MC or doing other stuff, and the current one are LCPs, so they cannot be coach of other LCP because it would be weird. And okay, so this is our structure. And then in general, regarding the main achievements and the main challenges of my role, but in general also Dushan's one, let's say in the overall OD in general. Okay, so again, from August until the end of January, we managed to have LCs achieve the 75% of their plans overall. And while in the first LC semester it was 64%, then we had 16 out of 19 LCs that were able to grow in approvals. Then in August we have 0 OK LC. OK again is mean LCs that have 7 in performance index and 7 in ED1. And right now, after the closure of the semester, we have 7 of them. Then we were actually able to centralize, let's say, the network management, so to ensure certain services regarding network to all the functional, to align them very well in terms of routine, touch points, and the basic services, let's say. Then in general, accountability from LCs to LCs increased a lot. So almost all of them have always been accountable. And another achievement was that we were able to provide 90% of MC services on time to LCs. MC services, again, included chats from CT to, from coach to LCP and from consultants to VP, and also they included LC visits and planning visits, let's say. Then another thing that we introduced and that actually improved a lot was the measuring the implementation, and we passed from 66% in August until 89% at the end of the semester. And then last but not least, since one of our main pillars was to focus a lot also on the culture and on shaping it, we managed to have now a measurable way to measure again culture, and everything is based on Isaac values, of course, so on the who of our essence. What were instead the main challenges? Again, as I was saying before, we don't have regional coordinator in the first MC semester, so it makes a bit, let's say, hard to manage the direct support to LC and LCP, meaning that, for example, I had way more LCs, and some coach was also the head of some functional operations. So I don't know, Rafa, Santiago, and other MCP functional. And of course, also for them, it was very hard to manage both their network and to be coach of some LC. Then another thing that now we are changing is that the routine, what I mean with routine is from when we actually released the OD model reports and all the reports to when we managed to finish all of our monthly MC services. So all the chats and implementation took half of the month, and so we were not so fast in implementing things, and this was pretty much a mess. Then another thing is that health index regarding the model was a bit hard to compute because there were some criteria that were, yes, again, a bit hard, both regarding collecting data and to make them actually reliable. And then another things that were a bit of a problem is that when we replan on the summer conference in the first days of August, we created a plan structure based on 4DX, but we didn't manage to explain very well to LCs how to also implement it and to work on it in a daily and weekly basis. And another thing is that, again, in September, we launched this culture plan, but we were not able to follow up on it very well. Thing that is changing right now with a new checklist based on, again, Isaac values and Make in Italy.
Rafa. Cool. Just before we go, I just want to check if there is any. Okay, no questions on the Hangouts. If you have questions and you are on the Hangouts, then you can go and you can turn on your microphone and say, because we're not going to see it. Or you can put in the YouTube, because we are also checking the YouTube comments while we are doing the other link that we posted on the group, and then check there also. There are 3 people watching in the YouTube also. Okay, so let's go to the first and best role in the OD department, which is the TXP. So we're gonna start with the processes. So that's kind of a hint also on when you're trying to structure or define what TXP does. Please go to Get, Keep, and Develop, because all the processes and things that we do as TM or TXP are inside here. So just going very quickly through the process. Get is how can we actually get and select the best people for the organization on time and following the operations timeline. So first you select who do you want to get inside your admissions process. So what is the persona that your LC is looking for? And this persona needs to be based on records, on the history of your LC, the goals and the main achievements that you want for the semester. After this, you have your talent planning, in which you map inside your LC how many people are you going to have in the next 2 months. So after retention, after the team cycle changes, so that you understand also how many people do you need. And then you set your goal for new members and also do the backwards planning. Then you go to talent attraction, which is the moment in which the admissions team, together with marketing, set the main strategies for getting applicants for your admissions process. And then you go for offline strategies, online strategies in order to get these applicants. After that, you select and allocate these people, making sure that you are using the persona that you created in the beginning, so that you're selecting people that are actually the right people in the right place, and you are allocating them based on very concrete criteria that you also set in the beginning. And then you go to talent onboarding, which is basically how do you want to shape the first 30 days of your members' experience in order for them to get functional knowledge, organizational knowledge, feel a part of the LC, feel ownership for the area's plan, the area's goal, and then actually be part of the LC as a whole and start working in the team routine in general. So for that, we also have all of the materials and guidelines for these processes already done for VPs. So these things are also in some materials that you can check. In terms of develop, there are 3 very simple processes. So national education cycle, how can we make sure that our members are being well educated, both functionally and also in some soft skills, both through our conferences and physical channels, so LC visits, discovery days, local conferences, national conferences, and also in our virtual channels, which are today basically Isaac Hub and the academies that we're creating there. The second one is the team leader capacity building. So the TXP role with team leaders, which is not to coach and set personal goal and be their team leaders, but it is to increase their capacity in terms of management. So TXP role with team leaders is to make sure that they are managing their teams the best way possible and they have all the tools to do this in the best way possible. And then the third one is the performance management, which is a concept that we are introducing right now, not we Italy, but we globally speaking in the TXP department, which is basically making sure that each and every one of the members in our entity, they have a personal goal, both for their development, both for their achievement. So I'm a member, I know exactly in a quarter basis what are the personal development that I want to achieve in my experience, and what is the achievement that I want in my area. So I want to deliver 6 approvals, and I want to develop myself in my self-awareness or some other specific topics. And then I'm being followed up every month on this on the achievement of these plans, both by my team leader, both by the national membership survey that we're going to talk about. So I am also following up every time on this. And then we'll go to KEEP, which are the processes that we use to actually guarantee retention and guarantee that our members are having a good career plan inside the organization to stay for longer. The first one is rewards and recognition, so nationally speaking, and also at local level. Engagement assessment, so there is a theory behind this assessment, and it's basically 6 questions that we ask to our members every month in order to understand if, according to this theory, they are being engaged with the organization. So the questions are about, am I doing the best that I can to achieve my goals? Am I being followed up by my team leader? So they are very 6 yes or no questions in order to understand if our members are engaged in the organization. And the third one is the succession strategy. So what are the things that we can do in order to guarantee that when we need to promote opportunities and need our members to engage in further roles inside the organization, they actually want to do this because they see this as an opportunity for them to develop themselves or to contribute more to the organization. So these are the global TM processes that all of the entities are implementing. They were refreshed in November in the Global TM Summit, and then they are being implemented by the entities. So far, Isaac in Italy's current state in terms of implementation of the Global TM standards is 70.5%. And just for you to get a sense, the ones that we did not implement fully yet are the ones related to performance management and engagement assessment, because these processes, they require, we are in terms of timeline, going to implement these ones right after we have our new members. So our goal as MC Lego is that by the end of our term, so even before, by May, we are achieving 100% of TM implementation, process implementation. So on the right, you see the current state of talent capacity. So this is the division by area nationally. So on marketing, with G in the end, you have 145 people in the organization, counting members, team leaders, and VPs. On IGV, we have 144 people. On OGV, we have 132. OGET, so counting both members that are working for GE and for GT, we have 43 people. On the graph below, you can check the variation of talent capacity during the previous year and also on 2016. What I wanted to take out of this are the peaks. So this is basically the second semester, 2016, 2017. So what I wanted to take out of this are the peaks. So notice that on September, which is right after summer break and right after Ferragosto and everything, we have a very huge peak of low peak of membership and HR inside our entity, and right after we have the admissions. What happened in 2016 and 17, if you notice the red line, what we managed to do is to anticipate 1 month the peak of members, and this was part of a strategy that the EMC was following with the TXP area, in order to make sure that our timeline is more adapt to operations timeline. So making sure that we are not achieving our full talent capacity in November, which is very late when you're thinking about winter peak, but 1 month before. It's still not the ideal state because we don't need to only anticipate a timeline, but also increase the number of people selected, because still after the last admissions, we did not achieve 100% of talent capacity as we should, but we anticipated 1 month the peak of membership. Then we go to the management side. So the National Membership Survey was something that we implemented in Lego term right in August, and basically it's a monthly assessment that we run with our members. So if you are a member and a team leader of Isaac in Italy, you fill the survey every month, or you're supposed to fill the survey every month. The survey goes out on the 25th, and the deadline to fill is on the 3rd of the next month. And what is the idea? Is that we can assess our members. Before, in the previous semester, it was on the fulfillment of team standards. So I am a member, am I receiving all the standards that I should be receiving from my team leader, and if I'm a team leader, from my VP. So this was what we were assessing in the previous semester. Now we are adding 2 things, which are the processes that I said before. So we are assessing the engagement, so the 6 questions that I told you, we are also adding in the membership survey, and then a self-assessment of the personal goal that the member set. So the idea is that the membership survey can also serve as a follow-up on the personal development plan. So I'm a member, I am being asked every month, how do I perceive my development in the individual plan that I set for me for the goal, for the quarter. So things about the survey, like it is a survey that increased the response rate a lot during the semester. We are going back with the survey in February, and it's going to be going on from February on every month of the term. Apart from that, when we talk about management, we refreshed and implemented a local tool for routine implementation. So the idea is that this tool, which is called TDP, are a tool for VPs TXP to follow up and have a local tracking on how team standards are going. And now we are also refreshing the tool to put engagement and performance management as well. So the same things that we are doing for the survey, we're doing for the local tool. The idea of this local tool is that VPs TXP have an ongoing idea of how are things, and they don't wait for the survey in the end of the month to discover that things are happening or not happening. Second one is the work that we're doing with team leaders. So we had a session for team leaders in our regional conferences. We created some communication channels to communicate directly with them and upscale some content. And now we are also evolving this work and putting this under the JD of one of the NSTs of TXP. So we are going to have more frequent content that's being downscaled directly for team leaders in order to increase their management capacity. And second, the third thing is the TM processes embedding. So the idea that now we are also managing to put engagement and performance management in the survey as well. So it's an open channel that now we are using, and it helped us a lot in boosting our TM processes implementation. So we went from 20% to 70% because we had an open channel with our membership. On the right, you can see the team standards implementation month by month from August until December. So you can see that from August until November, we had constant growth in the team standards implementation. This, again, is being measured by the membership survey every month. And then in December, we had a drop due to response rate of the survey in general, and also to holidays management as a whole. Then you go to education. So we had a very huge development on the concept of education and on the culture of education inside the entity. So on the right, you can see all of the academies that we created on Isaac Hub. So far we created 8 academies. And our goal for these academies, nationally speaking, as MC, was to guarantee 65% of engagement. So 65% of our membership at the time. So the target audience for the academy to go through the academy in the month of that the academy is supposed to happen. We achieved this goal with all of the academies except the 7 Habits one, which we achieved 58%. So some facts about it: we created 8 academies. Now, globally speaking, we are the top 1 entity in Isaac Hub implementation. So there is a checklist of Isaac Hub implementation that you as an entity, you need to follow in order to make sure that the platform is implemented in your country. We have 50% of implementation, and we're missing 2 checks in order to achieve 100%. After creating the academies on the previous semester, now we have an education calendar. So now we're not every month creating something new. Now we have a very concrete plan of all of the things and the touch points that we're going to run with our LCs when it comes to national education cycle. So with the academies that we're going to run virtually, the touch points that we're going to have as MC with the network, and also the local education that needs to be ran by ABs and LCVPs TXP to complement the virtual education that is being run on the month. So for example, in April, you have selling Isaac and identify bottlenecks and acting upon them in order to support the sales academy that is being run. So every time we're working virtually on the national level and then locally with physical education. And then when it comes to main achievements and main challenges of the area, we have the admissions timeline advancing, so advancing the peak of talent capacity from November to October, advancing most of the discovery days, so that we can cope with the operations timeline. Admissions process evolution, so we changed the admissions process from last semester to this semester, giving more guidelines and directions for VPs to implement it. And with that, we managed to advance a little bit the admissions planning. So before we were taking some time to implement some things that now we managed to implement in December and January. As Hub implementation, as I said, education culture implementation. So we're not only using a tool, but now LCVPs TXP, they know that it is part of their JD to evolve education and run education at local level. And also EBs know that this is a job that they need to put attention to. Members experience assessment, so basically the National Membership Survey, which is an open channel that allows us to also ask additional questions to our members every month and have a constant assessment on their satisfaction with the experience and stuff. In general, LCVP TXP routine and KPI clarity. So now we have a very concrete calendar every month with the activities that needs to be ran in TXP at local level. Team cycle implementation. So now we are implementing a team cycle that has a very concrete day to start and to end, and this helps us a lot when we're talking about team standards implementation. So we will not have LCs that are finishing, that are implementing closing of team standards in different months, so that we don't know when our LC is implementing exactly. And also they are implementing building in different stages. So we are aiming to align all of the LCs in one very concrete team cycle, so that we can also give them more support for team standards implementation. And in general, network management. So in the last semester, we managed to achieve 100% of chats delivered in both network chats, individual consultancies, and newsletters that were sent. So we're also doing a cool job in terms of network management. On the other side, the main challenges that now are still keeping us from achieving everything that we want. Admissions applicants plan achievement. So basically achieving the number of applicants on time so that we can run a good selection process and select the best people that we want on time. Aligned to that, online marketing management. So how can we boost our online promotion for admissions, both on Facebook ads, sharing posts on Facebook groups? How can you use the online platforms, our online platforms, the best way possible to achieve the admissions applicants? Then retention during summer break. So as you saw on the graph, we had a very huge drop of membership in both July and August. So it leaves us in September when we should be doing a lot of things, operationally speaking, with a very low talent capacity. So how can we actually solve this bottleneck? Then onboarding all LCs in national strategy. So we had some LCs that did not get on board in some strategies that were ran, so education, team management, some kind of strategies, and we still need, in terms of network management, coaching system in general, to make sure that all LCs are on board on these things. And for last, IXP for winter peak. So it was something that we did not manage to put as a priority, and so we did not have that many results for IXP on winter peak. But now, for summer peak, at TXP and OGV, we are running a national campaign for IXP, and the idea is that we achieve good results for summer peak as well. Yeah, that was it in terms of TXP.
Ciao guys, I'm Alessia, the MCVP Expansion Director. So we are going to go through a little bit of the expansion strategy. Then if you have questions, you can ask me. I already uploaded some materials for the expansions because I saw in the spreadsheet there were some questions about it. So you can find also now the expansion model and the booklet on how to open an expansion on the applicants folder. So the first thing I want to show you is the current situation of expansion. So right now we have 9 expansions in ISEC in Italy. They're spread in a while. You're going to see also the map. You're going to see that yes, we have 9 expansions. They're spread among like all Italy. We have the one expansion is Cagliari and is in Sardinia, so the island on the left of Italy. Then we have Enna is in Sicily, the other island. Then we have Ferrara, Firenze, Milano Unimi. Milano Unimi, what does it mean? So we have already an LC in Milan. we open another, like let's say, an expansion in Milan, and it's like university based. So we have this university called UNIMI. Uni means like is the like the abbreviation for university. So it's like one of the public university in Milan. Then there is the Modena and Reggio Emilia. It's like two cities. So Modena and Reggio Emilia are two cities, but there is only one university. Then we have the Polytechnic of Turin. Actually, it's the only Polytechnic in which we have a separate, like, let's say, chapter of ISEC. Then we have Roma Tor Vergata. Also in Rome, we already have two ELSIs. So this one is like actually like another, like, let's say, another chapter of ISEC in Rome. And then we have Siena. So in general, what I can tell you about, let's say, the current expansions. When I started the term, we didn't have 4 of these expansions. We didn't have Siena, Cagliari, Modena, Reggio Emilia, and Polytechnic of Turin. Then you will also see in the end, with one of the main achievements, that actually we opened this 4th chapter in the first semester. So what is mainly my JD is mainly divided in 2 parts. The first one is opening new chapters, and I decided this year to focus on that in the first semester. So from now on, we are not going to open new chapters, like, I mean, in the second semester, but the second part, that is like the other part of my JD, is making sure that these expansions can become ELSI. In general, the plan now is that in the second semester, so by July 2018, we're going to have 5 expansions becoming ELSI. So in this way, we're going also to have other expansions that can, like, are in pipeline also for next year, but still, like, we're going to increase the capacity of ELSIs in Italy. So how to become an ELSI? We have 2 criteria that are based on the expansion model and also on our compendium. That is basically reach a number of approvals and reach a certain talent, and like a number of talent capacity. In this, you have mainly 2 possibilities to become an official local chapter during like the term. So the first one, so you have like 2 periods. So the first period we can say that is like the first semester. So from the 1st of February to the 31st of July, you need to approve at least 16 EPs. Then you can check the correlation between the OD model. So why is exactly 16 and not a different number? Because it's like also in our OD model. So like for a startup ELSI. Instead, in the second semester, so from the 1st of August to the 31st of January, you need to approve at least 8 EPs. With this, you also need to achieve a minimum number of talent capacity. It is 14 members. And I put also let's say, the structure of an expansion, of an ideal expansion. So you have the expansion manager, then you have 3 VPs, VP OGV, VP marketing, VP TXPTM, and then each like the OGV and marketing areas needs to have at least 5 members. Okay. Then in terms for support system, so there is me as expansion director. I coach directly 2 expansions. Then I have 3 NSTs. Each one of them, like 2 of them coach 2 expansions, and 1 of them coach 3 expansions. In general, what we do in terms of support. So we have a very, let's say, cadence in our touch points with the in general expansion managers. So there is a weekly check-in with each expansion manager in which we go through the priorities and the deliverables from the previous, like, let's say, check-in. Then there is a general chat, like in the beginning of the month, or in general, like a monthly chat, in which we set with them, like, let's say, the priorities of the month, and also like it's also about for the personal development. Then in terms of my routine, I have a weekly meeting with my NST, so it's me and the 3 expansion coach each week, and we also, like this, we track weekly our commitment, and we check the situation of expansions. Then there are consultancies for functional VPs, and they are not let's say, we have these NSTs that actually consults the expansion VPs. They are not under me. They are NSTs of the functional MCVPs. So let's say the MCVP OGV, MCVP TXP, and MCVP marketing have an NST that is consultant for expansion in each area. And they manage also, like, let's say, the education of the NSTs. Then in terms of visit, we have 2 visits per semester, and then we also have extra visits if needed. So in terms of, we have a lot of touch points with them, also on a weekly basis. So if we understand that there is a problem that needs to be solved, we just arrange like a visit or a specific touch point. In general terms, there is how in general expansion works. So there is, especially if you come from another entity, there is no LC-based expansion. They're all MC run. For this, we have a fund. So I manage also this fund. in which I can decide, I have a budget, I can decide on how to invest on expansions. So for example, especially for like physical support, that it means the visits, for example. So that's why we have two, so we can also invest on these things, and also like conferences. So expansions have the conference fee, let's say, paid by this fund. In terms of main achievement and main challenges, so as I told you in the beginning, one of the main achievements was that we achieved, I had actually a battle with that. This was like 4 new initiatives, to achieve 4 new initiatives by the end of November, and actually we achieved it, so we opened for new expansions. Then one of the other achievements, I will say the NST structure, not only the structure, but also like the routine, because it gives a lot of clarity to the whole strategy. And also it gives us a lot of, like, let's say, like touch point in which we can understand how to support better the expansions. Then in general, for example, conferences, we invested a lot on people from expansion going to conferences. We have more than 30 people going to like the different conferences we had till now. And then also PR communications. In the beginning of the term, I had the synergy with with Angelica, that is our MCVP ER manager for PR, so like for media. We structured the strategy in which she was contacting, especially for starting new expansions. So there were like media or just like channels in the university, or also like in the local reality, to understand if there were people interested, like especially young people, interested in opening new expansions. And now we are trying to improve this part, because now we don't need people to open an expansion. We need, for example, people to understand the, I don't know, about the GV program or join Isaac. So we also like work a lot on this, and actually it's working. Instead for the main challenges, so things that for sure can improve. So for example, can be an educational cycle. So how we ensure their knowledge. Right now, like we are working a lot on this, but still is one of the main challenges. And a linked point to this is, for example, that the expansion members in general do not have examples. What does it mean? That there is no one before them, so they do not receive transition. So imagine like a new member becoming expansion manager that has a lot of responsibilities. So we need to ensure a lot of not only functional knowledge, but also like, let's say in a way, soft skill like development, that it's very important. How, for example, he will be like managing people, but this person never managed people. So it's also like one of the main challenges usually we have. In general, talent capacity. So expansions right now have very few people inside. I can give you more information about it if you need. And then also difficulties in implementing things. In general, there is no growth mindset in our expansions. We have expansions that are expansions like since more than 1 year. And it's not very good also for how they're managing their people and also their operation. And accountability and engagement also is one of the challenges. Right now we're improving a lot in accountability, but in the first semester was really difficult to have. We have also SONA for expansions. So it means that each week expansion managers and in general expansion people need to send us some information, some basic information. And we had a lot of struggles in the first semester to this. Now we're improving a lot. And also in engagement, like also, especially in the first semester, we struggle a lot in making them coming to the conferences. So I told you, like, one of the achievement was having, for example, 30 people coming to conferences, but still they were not all the people from expansions. So also in that part, it's a bit difficult. And from my side, it's everything. Then if you have any other questions, you can approach me.
Cool. Hello, I'm Laura. I'm CVP ICOM. So in this space, we are going to give you some context about the area and the main achievements and main challenges during this period that I had communications in charge. So the first thing is we have different channels. The first channel that we have, it's Facebook. In this channel, we have the MC fan page. And the focus for this, it's the plenary, the whole plenary of ISEC in Italy, plus the communication towards other entities. And the second thing is the groups per commission. So every MCVP has their group in Facebook. The second channel that we have is Instagram. We are just like launched it some months ago. And this focus, like the focus of this, it's for engage all the plenary and also work a little bit more in the culture that we were discussing previously. As ICOM, also I'm in charge of the IT accounts of ISEC in Italy, so all the mailing lists, groups, and so on, all the informations. I'm the responsible for like taking care of this. Also, as well, we have newsletters, and for more resources, you can go to this bit.ly. It's bit.ly /ICOM Plan Italy. Where you can find all the structure of the ICOM plan that we have, the measurements, and all the campaigns that we are doing right now. So for the main achievements that we had so far since I got here, it's the growth on the MC fan page in terms of engagement of the 225%. Like in the previous MC, we didn't have the focus of someone taking care of the communication. So this also led us to be more aware for all the needs that the plenary has right now. The second thing was the STAR measurement for the newsletters and communications in general. Now we are based on the interactions and reactions that people have, and also the comparison between the reach that we are having. So that's how we actually can understand how much the people it's engaged with all our channels. The third thing is the structure and specialization of the channels. So as I was explaining to you, Facebook MC fan page is for the whole entity. Then we have the groups per commission. Then Instagram, it's more for culture. ISEC IT accounts that are Gmail accounts are more for specific stuff or more formal stuff. Newsletters that are also mailing, and that's it. The fourth thing is the entity understands more the importance of communication. So before we didn't have the knowledge of how the things were working, or the channel that we had with the plenary was not really linked. So we had a lot of delays and so on, because we didn't have an actual connection between one and another, between MCLC and LCMC. So that helped us to improve these channels and, like, let's say, construct a bridge for improve also in all the operations. Into consideration that communication is for leverage all the operations that we are doing as ISEC in Italy. And the last thing is the brand alignment. So now we are, all the things that we are doing had a coherence and a composition that follows some rules. So every communication needs to be a brand alignment, as like we have, let's say, our blue book for the entity. So it's super cool because people are engaging more with that, and they are taking as their own. So it's super cool, this. So for the main challenges, still what happened, communication has a lot of synergies. So one of the main challenges is prioritize what's important and what's not important, because we have a lot of things to communicate towards the plenary. So in 1 week we can start doing from 5 to 14 campaigns each week. So it's a lot of information that we really need to make sure that it's going to arrive to the target that we want in a specific way. So we still are having this issue, let's say, for prioritize. The second thing is routine of communication. As I said before, communication having a lot of synergies also give us, let's say, in the daily life of a com, you have a lot of whirlwind. meaning that you have a lot of things that are operational every day, and this also implies that you cannot focus on the strategic part. That's one of the core of the roles. And the last but not least, it's the support to the MCVPs with the management of their communications in their commission. So in the Facebook groups and newsletters, we start doing it, but we didn't follow up yet. So this is also like something that we can improve, because as I said before, communication should be more strategical, not that much in terms of things that you need to do, or the daily life or the operational stuff, like doing images or doing campaigns. It should be more focused on the strategic part. That's it for communication. So if you have any questions.
Yeah, just before you go to the open questions, we're, I think, approaching the 1 hour of our space. One thing that you need to understand about the department is that, like, when you think about our structure and compared to the structure of all the departments worldwide, we have a very different structure, and then why that. So what unites us is that we are working on the implementation channels of Isaac Newton. So we have the operational strategies, so the room next to ours here in the office, and we are responsible for both with LCPs, with the coaching system, network manager, so Miki and Dushan, with the membership, so from my side, expansions and communication in general to implement all the strategies that we want to implement. So if you're wondering one thing that actually is the role of the OD department in general, it's basically the implementation channels in all of our channels that we have as an entity. So I will leave you some moments to ask questions, and then you can do this by the Hangouts, because I'm stopping to share the screen. You can do that by the YouTube. You can do that by WhatsApping Alessia, however you want. But we are giving you some minutes to ask questions if you have them. Okay, so do you have week in each area? Yes, our MC plan is divided, like at least one sub-week we have per each of the departments, but in the replanning we had some changes in that. So for example, on expansions we have one sub-week. Like what are the sub-weeks under? I hear you anymore. You cannot hear us anymore? Now, yes? So if you have other questions, just let us know. It crashed while you were talking, now it's back. Cool. Okay, what is the question?
So the question is, are you satisfied with the coach system of LCs and expansions, especially for the turnover?
The turnover of the coaches or the turnover of who?
It was about the turnover of the coach. So how is it to change coach every semester for the LCs? To know if
okay, so well, actually, this is something you should ask from our side. I am pretty satisfied in general because, for example, I was also part of the team in the first semester of LCs, and also when I was LCP, I was changing the coach, and I think that it's not a matter that much of coach, but more on the coaching system, on the alignment on specific objectives within the whole coaching team, let's say. So if you have a structure that lets you, let's say, that let you align all together to reach specific objective, I think it's fine. I'm pretty satisfied. So yes.
Okay. For what concerns my my coach, so in general, like the system is working. Then, for example, in my specific case, I have one coach that does a term. So like the turnover is not like really, like we don't feel a lot the turnover. But in general, like I'm very satisfied of the system. I think it's working, and also especially why I think it's working, because of the routine we put in our like activities, and also in the cadence of it.
Then the other question, if has the 4DX battle achievement brought desired results inside the LCs, or would you go deeper? Well, I think that of course we can go a bit deeper. In fact, one of the assessments that we plan to have in the following months is directly on the field. So when we will have a coaching visit, let's say, we will assess it too. But in general, I think that the results were pretty cool. In fact, as I was saying before, we had a pretty high, let's say, increase of the SS plan achievement, and I think that it's also relate pretty much on it. Then when we tracked the persona, there is also a question regarding who actually is the one doing the performance inside of the LCs, and if at the beginning of our term, so in August, mainly the results were coming from VPs and team leader. At the end, we saw a switch, and so more and more team members and team leader are contributing to the performance. So I think that it's working pretty much.
Just 2 points on this topic. Like for sure, now that we have the generation change, so the EBs that were that knew a little bit more about the implementation of 4DX, they are not EBs anymore. So for sure, we need to refresh the implementation with the new generations. And when we were assessing the implementation of 4DX in the end of last year, we saw that some LCs managed to downscale the implementation to teams. So not only VPs with the team leaders and the areas in general implementing 4DX, but also team leaders implementing with the members. So we had cases in Isaac in Italy in which the team leaders are also implementing 4DX and running meetings with account review plan structure and stuff, and other LCs in which it's still in the EB. So what I would say as next steps for this is downscaling, make sure that all of the LCs are downscaling, not only EB, but also team leaders and members are using, and then the new generations are following up on the implementation as well.
Okay, so Lucas, regarding the next question, the first one. So in the first semester, how does it work? It will, for sure, all of FCPs as a coach, this always happen, but there are no formal LCPs to being coaches, but other MC members. So the whole coaching team, let's say, is inside the MC. So for example, I had 6 LC, that there was Lucia MCPOD that had other 3. Then MCP CXP had 2. Then Rafa had 2. Santiago, that is the MCP OGT, also had 2, and also Alessio, that is MCP OGT. So all the coaches were inside the MC team. Then, do you have you're supporting you with online promotion for membership? It's very
based on LCs, yes. So we have LCs that have bigger, like stronger relationship with universities, and these ones they manage to have more channels inside university and be more present in the university, and this helps a lot. Mainly on like when we are not having classes, and then they cannot go and do class shouts and stuff, but other LCs don't. Is it better to have LCPs or MC members coaching? I don't know. Like go.
Okay, so in my opinion, it depends a lot, because in general, it's better to have LCPs. Right?
Yes.
LCPs than functional MC member, because of course functional MC member have a lot of things to care about, like their network or the strategy implementation, and so they cannot focus very, very well in the support for LCPs and for the local reality. While, for example, my JDs almost have 50% of my JDs also to coach directly LC, so it's very different. So in general, when the coaches inside of the department, that it's actually the department that manages implementation, it's pretty cool. And when it's outside, we struggle a bit because, of course, preschool and CPs and other stuff to take care of. So it's a bit more tricky. But in general, if the system is very structured and aligned, it's not a big deal. But having a regional coordinator is very
Questions on the YouTube? Questions in here? We're giving 1 more minute for you to ask your questions, then we are closing the space because we are 1 hour and 13 minutes already. Would you put into discussion the actual communication channels?
Yes, but it's more depending on the focus that you want to know, like the things that you want to implement. For sure, it's more in the terms of analysis and the focus that you will suggest for the next generation. But for sure, our communication is always open to discussion.
He said thank you.
You're welcome.
What happens during expansion visits?
Okay, so well, basically they're like LC visits. So what happens different from an LC visit, that there are a lot of practical moments. So for example, I put a lot of attentions to the agenda. I mean, also in the preparation of the coach going before the visits. In general, the practical moments are, for example, training. So like training on how to do practical things, as for example, if we need to do shouts, so there is a practical moment on how to do it. Then we put a lot of attention on the accountability creation. So let's say it's not only for the accountability towards the MC, but also on the local accountability. So for example, the tracking tools. Usually the people that which we start for the visit, especially the first visit that we do with an expansion, is also about how to ensure a good tracking system for them, because usually they're not used to have tracking tools in their, let's say, life, because then they found themselves together with a group of people, and then they need to understand how to track activities. So for example, about the deliverables, the commitments and goals. So there are also very practical moments, and there are a lot of trainings on how to do these things. And we also talk a lot with them. It's not just we go there and say, okay, this is the tracking tool, do it. No, we really want them to understand the concept behind. So we put also a lot of effort and time in the agenda, also to make them implement these tools by themselves, basically. Then I don't know if you have a specific one, or if I answered the questions.
You did. Bravo. Cool. Last question, if you have. Otherwise, we are ending the space. Seconds. 7, 6. Cool. So guys, you still have the frequently asked questions spreadsheet. So if you put questions there, we will check. If you have questions that were not asked, for me, I have some chats scheduled already, but you can also contact us who has some questions. I hope the space was useful. And that's it. Have a good application.
Good luck.
Good luck, amici.
It was very good, thanks.
Okay, amazing.
Thank you,
Good luck.
Lucas.
Ciao, guys.
Ciao.